Welcome everybody to another episode of Fantasy News. I am your disheveled goblin host, Daniel Green, and today, that's right, we have a little bit different of a setup. Why, you might ask? Well, I just figured it'd be nice to, instead of having studio lights, just let in the natural Virginia sun. And it has nothing at all to do with the fact that I had to move all my studio lights to film a Fringe video that I'm having to reshoot now because of an audio error. And I just couldn't be bothered to bring the lights back in because I'm lazy. It has nothing to do with that. In all seriousness though, yes, we've gotten to the point for the Fringe video where I'm actually filming it, and I could not be more excited. Please, oh please, if you wouldn't mind, when that video drops in probably roughly a month, tune on in because it's gonna be something special and it's one of my favorite sci-fi products of all time. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the fantasy news. And we're gonna go ahead and kick it off with the fact that yes, we've got some cover reveals. The first of which is going to be the Weavers of Alamaxa by Hadir Elsbey. And there's something about the combination of blue and orange that's almost like a cheat code for beautiful book covers. The obvious prime example being but the Weavers of Alamaxa marks the conclusion of the Alamaxa duology and will be available March 26th of 2024. Next up, we have one that is in a style I always am a sucker for as well, and that would be To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods by Molly X. Chang, pitched as my godfather used to tell me stories of Manchuria under colonization and the genocides we survived. These stories inspired To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods, a book I was told would never get published, but today I get to reveal its beautiful cover, coming April 9th of 2024. Talk about an effective pitch. Well done. Well pitched. And I really mean that in like a non-cynical way. The more you're able to tie in your inspirations, your story into the appeal of your book, I feel like the more likely you are to find an audience who will resonate with it. It's something I'm going to attempt to do more in the future, and I have done with Neon Ghosts and my own mental health struggles and how that inspired the main character, Taya Mint, available now in the descriptions down below.
Always be plugging.
But finally, for the cover reveals, we also had the reveal for Gogmagog and Ludluda. Okay, this is just a dyslexic's worst nightmare by a combo of authors. Jeff Noon and Steve Beard have created a surreal and visionary fantasy of Dream England. Like Wonderland, Gormgas, and Perdido Street Station, the world of Gogmagog and Ludluda is a unique feast for the imagination. And Gogmagog and Ludluda are forthcoming angry robot books on February 13th, 2024 and November 26th of 2024. And I really like the appeal of the layering with the colors here for the covers and the pitch. Perdido Street Station and Wonderland. What? This is okay, I'm peaked. You peaked me. Skipping on over to books that are already out though, we are also getting a graphic novel adaptation of Good Omens. The Kickstarter currently is at well over 1 million, holy god, and features art from Colleen Durant. And I actually didn't know the story of how Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett met. It's awesome, and in the promo for this Kickstarter, so if you'd like to learn it, of course, links to all stories talked about today down below in that thing, or if you're watching this years from now and YouTube has moved the description box, I don't know, it's over there in front of your face, whatever the VR, AR hellscape you're living in decides to put the description box. I don't know why it got so sad. Speaking of Kickstarters though, and cozy reads, we also had Wraithmark Creative, my publisher full disclosure, launch their Kickstarter for their special edition of Legends and Lattes, which has already been funded as well, so congratulations to Travis Baldry and Wraithmark. And for fans of Travis Baldry, we've also gotten a special edition of his upcoming book, Bookshops and Bonedust, being released by The Broken Binding, and it is blue! I'm talking blue! But now we need to talk on a release for a series that I'm not super hyped on, not because I think this is necessarily by default a bad product, but we had UK Tor releasing a look at their upcoming Wheel of Time box set, and this could be great. Or it could not. I really can't tell because all we have are these two images without actually showing us the books inside, and the detail that this box you're getting it in is made out of rigid cardboard. And I've been impressed by the quality of like premium cardboard before. It's not necessarily just by default bad, but here's my full thoughts on the situation. Price per book, that set isn't too bad though, no? No, I agree, it's not too bad. It's just, okay, let me further explain why I'm a bit upset. One, I think it's a bit not 100% honest to just put in the fine print down below, by the way, this isn't actually wood like we've made it out look to, it's just cardboard. That's not the best. I also, yeah, it's not an insane price. $180 for all 15 books doesn't average out to be insanely bad, and it's certainly a way to go ahead and get the full collection. My problem is the full collection, if you're just your average layman, all you're seeing is 15 spines in a cardboard box, and they're not actually showing you what the faces look like. Like, I don't know what print run this is, and it's just a bad job marketing it. As someone who cares about Wheel of Time as a whole, as a franchise, because I grew up, you know, reading the books, trying to get over my dyslexia, I feel like Wheel of Time has constantly done a disservice in its marketing. We do not see the books pushed properly, and I've yet to see, since the show came out, which we've gotten a litany of new versions, new runs of Wheel of Time, any of them really knock my socks off. Even when we've gotten anniversary editions that have just been disappointing. That's my full thoughts on it. Wheel of Time, even before its adaptation, was in the ranks of the highest selling fantasy series ever. And it just feels like it's never really getting its due. And as someone who's been a lifelong fan, that's frustrating. But before we get into an interesting Discworld update, a quick word from today's sponsor.
It's summer, the perfect time of year to go on adventures, let loose, and try new things. So why not try adding something new to your daily self-care routine? With Scentbird, you'll fall in love with fragrances. Scentbird is a monthly fragrance subscription service that allows you to pick and try niche fragrances before committing to one. For only $17, every month you'll get to pick out a fragrance that interests you, so there are no surprises. It's really easy to use too. Just slip the new fragrance into your refillable atomizer case and you're good to go. Daniel's personal favorite this month was Heretic's Pistol Whip, which smelled of verdant moss, pink pepper, and bergamot. They work directly with designer brands such as Prada, Gucci, and Versace, but they also have a ton of niche brands for you to explore as well. So head on over to Scentbird.com to try out a 30-day supply for only $17. And when you find one you're in love with, you can choose to upgrade to the full size. And be sure to use the code GREEN55 at checkout to save 55% off your first month. That makes it just a little over $7. Available in the USA and Canada. Scentbird.com.
Now, I know my Cosmere fans have been feasting this year with the flood of fantastic Sanderson books. Couldn't think of a F word for books. But it looks like the feast is about to get some whipped cream on top because a Sanderson fan took to the Reddit saying, "Is it really bad that I'm bothered the UK versions of Yumi won't match the other Cosmere books?" For those of you who haven't seen, here is the UK launch for the Yumi books in terms of its cover, and yeah, it doesn't necessarily match the rest up until this point. But Sanderson responded by saying, and I did this on Twitch in my best Sanderson impression. All right, so this is my best impression of Brandon Sanderson. Now, I want everyone to know it means a lot to me that I do this well, and I'm hoping my impression of Brandon Sanderson is better than Man Carrying Things, aka Jake's. From Mistborn, aka Brando Sando on Reddit.
We are headed toward a total redesign for all my books in the UK. We've felt for a while now that the current covers are showing their age. So we've been in talks with the UK on how to proceed. Since we all like this cover a lot, we decided to go with it for the UK. I did ask for a white spine to match the others on the shelf, but I didn't know if they managed it. I'm aware that them all matching is a selling point for those who love those covers. We will see what we can do. But covers like Tress in the UK have me wondering if it is time for something new. No shade thrown at our illustrator, who has done some wonderful work.
And that's pretty darn neat. We get a lot of different Cosmere covers though. I mean, Mistborn just got a new release here in the United States, so I'll probably be sitting this one out, and I'm just going to one day, once the Sanderson just avalanche comes to a bit more of a calm space, I don't think he'll ever fully stop, then I might decide what Cosmere collection I'll fill out my whole shelf with, because even as of right now, it's a smorgasbord and it bothers me a little. But from one mega author to another, we have a bit of honoring for Sir Terry Pratchett, with some stamps being released for Discworld. This set of 8 stamps, which is on screen now, will begin being sold August 10th. Though if you're in the United States, be aware this is of course being sold through the Royal Mail, though I imagine stamp collectors have a fabulous web network set up to be able to get stamps from anywhere in the world, because in the day and age of the internet, collectors be collecting. And for my Patricia A, not B, McKillops fans, we have gotten the 50th anniversary edition of The Forgotten Beasts of Eld. And it has a cover. Well, here are my thoughts on that cover. Look at this. Look how weird this looks. Like, that cat is just laid over that lion. That's weird looking, right? I'm not crazy. That looks odd. Like, look at this. This looks weird. The face is like a different style than the castle and the crow. Like, dragon has no detail in its face. I'm sorry, it just wasn't for me. I found it a bit odd, but hey, this is cool for fans, and I don't discriminate here in fantasy news if I like something or not. If it's news, and I'll cover it for you. I'm happy to say, though, this has been a book-heavy episode of fantasy news, but finally we are going to go ahead and switch on over to the wider fantasy landscape and talk about the fact that we are going to be getting a new Bride of Frankenstein movie directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal and starring Christian Bale and Peter Skarsgård. I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard another Bride of Frankenstein movie, I kind of went, I'm so tired of seeing things I've seen before. But Maggie Gyllenhaal is someone whose career I've always been interested in, and Christian Bale and Peter Skarsgård acting across from each other for this, immediately I'm hooked and interested. So yeah, all right, this is actually one where I'll go, cool, no negative thoughts. This is a really positive episode of fantasy news. I like a good positive episode of fantasy news. It's shining as bright as that neon light. Neon. Oh, that reminds me. By the way, if you have been a fan of my latest release, Neon Ghosts, we are going to be launching a line of Neon Ghosts merch here on the channel, to which the Patreons of the channel already are going to be having early access to as of today with a discount. So if you're interested in Neon Ghosts as a whole, the merch will be live next week for everybody. Of course, I'll be sending personal thank you videos to everyone who purchases, and if you're a patron, you can go ahead and check it out right now. In my favorite kind of wholesome piece of quickie news, the person who pulled the $2 million One Ring Magic the Gathering card found a buyer for it, and that buyer turned out to be Post Malone, a notorious Magic the Gathering collector. And I don't know, it just seemed really cool to see someone who wasn't super rich and just your average Joe able to pull something that was totally life-changing and sell it to a celebrity who seems to genuinely love the thing it's a part of, and the guy was a fan of Post Malone in the first place. So it's just a fun, wholesome thing all around, and I hope no one ruins this for me in the comments section, but every time I've seen Post Malone interacting with the fantasy world, he seems like such a genuine fan and nice dude, so cool on that. Just some happy, more good news. Final piece of news I'll be covering today was a trailer for an anime that caught my eye and I found rather interesting, called Goodnight World. Now at first this seemed to be just a generic anime that was going through like just beat by beat what I expected to see in an anime on Netflix, but then there was a twist. It turns out it was all a virtual world the main character was in, and when they stepped out of this overly happy, oh my gosh, so much fun anime, they stepped back into their depressing life. And it reflects something I feel that so many of us are struggling with on the day-to-day, our dependency on the joy that the virtual world brings us without actually improving the real. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on this because that was really interesting. I like the taking the just generic, overly happy, and subverting it in something that is really poignant right now. But this has just been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and be sure to check out today's sponsor, Scentbird. If you're looking to up your fragrance game or just wanting to try out something new this summer, be sure to check out my link in the description and use code GREEN55 to save 55% on your first month's purchase. Neon Ghost, A Witch's Sin is available now in the links down below, and have a good one, y'all. Goodbye!